Okay, so where do we look for additional answers? So what does this mean? When science doesn't work and when science can't answer some questions, where do we look for the answers? I think we look for these answers in ethics or in religion. But what is ethics? Ethics is the study of moral reasoning. It's how humans should act, not necessarily how we actually act, but how we should act. It permits us to analyze what is good and bad in our actions. So it kind of guides us to take decisions to do our actions. So there's three ethic theories. Deontology, which is a rigid approach to ethical decision, it judges the morality of an action on the action's adherence to a rule or rules. The focus is on the rightness or wrongness of the action itself, and not on the goodness or badness of the consequences of those actions. So it basically just analyzes the action, and if it's good or bad, does not focus on the individual and his intentions, and neither on the consequences. On the other hand, there's consequentialism, which focuses exactly on the consequences of an action. An action is right insofar as it promotes happiness, and the greatest happiness of the greatest number should be the guiding principle of conduct. So basically, if your action is giving, if it has a good consequence and is giving the greatest happiness to the greatest amount of people, it's right. It's a right action. And then there's virtue ethics, which is a flexible approach, and it basically focuses on the intentions of the character and overall conduct of the person taking the action. So as you can see, I have this thinking bubble with intuition. Why? It's because I believe we use a lot of intuition in our ethical actions, and it's because intuition is the idea that we just know something without really using that much of reason or research. So, in other words, it's like what you think is right. You don't have other information to back up your action. It's just what you think is right. So that goes along with ethics, because ethics, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of reason or science research. It's just what you think is right personally, and then you do it. Besides ethics, we also look for additional answers in religion and religious knowledge systems. But how can you describe religion? A creed, a set of beliefs; cultus, a set of practices; code, a set of ethical values or precepts; a community, a set of people who subscribe to their religion. And as you can see here, I also have a thinking bubble, but now with the word faith. So faith doesn't necessarily need to be religion-wise. We all have faith, or trust in other words, in things we can't know using other ways of knowing. For example, if you think you have trust that you're gonna get a good grade in your test, you have faith that you're gonna get a good grade in your test. Doesn't have to do anything with religion. But it does. Faith is a huge part of religion, because it's religion, you can't really explain it with science and with other ways of knowing. Is you just have faith that your religion is true and that there is a God. So people that are religious usually think that faith is the most important way of knowing, while people that are not religious claim the exact opposite. The faith is completely useless. There's three views on religious knowledge systems. The first one is from three different persons. The first one is from Armstrong, and she says, belief is a recent religious enthusiasm. She says, you behave in a certain way and then you begin to understand the truths about religion. So you do the action first and then you begin to understand the truths about religion, how it says. She says, major traditions and faiths in the world have stuff in common: embrace compassion and empathy, like the golden rule, which she says most religions have, like the major ones, which is do not do to others what you wouldn't like them to do to you. Then there's Prothero. He acknowledges the different religions. He encourages getting along by religious differences, so he says that it's not good to think that all religions are the same. It's good to encourage the differences, because that he says that's how we learn to get along, and it's good to have different religions and different points of view. And he says that you adjust to your religion depending on the situational factors. So for example, if you have sinned and you think that uh, everybody gets a second chance and you're gonna get forgiven, then probably you're gonna look more towards the Catholic side. But if you're suffering a lot, you're gonna go more towards the Buddhism. Then there's Harris, that it's atheism, so he doesn't believe in religion, he doesn't believe in any god, and he says that religion is a failed science. The discourse that we had when all causes in the universe were opaque, we didn't know the basis of anything. So he's basically saying we used religion when we didn't know anything, we didn't have science, we didn't have other actual reasonable answers, so we used religion to create other types of answers. So the first example I'm going to talk about is Heaven Over Hospital, an article we read in class about this little girl that has this deadly disease, and basically the next time she gets sick, she will probably die because her lungs are not strong at all. And her parents basically made her make the decision either she wants to go to hospital and live the next time that she gets sick, or if she wants to go to heaven and die, obviously. Ethics in this article. The parents have decided to let her 5-year-old child decide on living or dying. They believe this is ethical because she has decided her own fate. She herself has decided this. It relates to virtue ethics because the parents have a good intention, because they do this because they think that's what is most caring, because they're letting her decide, so they have good intentions. It focuses on the characters, or the parents. And then there's consequentialism, because it will end Juliana's suffering. And then on the other hand, the bioethicist on this article says that this act is unethical, as a 5-year-old could not possibly understand the idea of dying versus living. This relates more to deontology because there is social norms. It relates to absolutism. There are some rules we all have to follow, and not letting a young kid make such a big decision is one of them. We can also see the idea of personal versus shared knowledge. Shared knowledge is we know when a lot of people know something, and personal knowledge is I know. It's pretty self-explanatory. So in this article, we know that she is sick and that she has made this decision that she wants to die. But then there's personal knowledge that only Juliana knows how much she's suffering and the pain she's going through. We will never know because we have not experienced what she is going through firsthand. Only she does. So then the second example I'm going to talk about is Become a Story Now, which is a TED Talk about this filmmaker that basically makes a movie about how he creates his own religion, and how he is a fake guru, and how he starts making people to follow him, and there's people that actually deeply believed in him, and I think he tries to show how easy it is for people to just create a religion and for people to follow a religion when it's actually not even true. So what the bad things about this is, the bad things that he tries to show, that he talks about, is anyone can be a god, anyone can mislead us, and religion can be a lie. You don't actually know, it's just your faith, as I talked about before. And then the good things that he talks about is, and just in general, the good thing about religion, I think, the good thing and bad thing about religion, and the good thing is that it gets the best out of us, and we have good role models, because usually when we're gods, they tell us to do good things, and they tell us, they look towards making the best out of us. And we have good role models because our god are usually gods that are saints, and like they don't have sins at all, and this kind of stuff. So this has been the end of my presentation. This is my bibliography.